right, there's a couple people that are joining us right now that I have coming through. You can wait a couple more minutes, but just for those of you that are on the call already, Annise and I are both here at the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame. Of course, we are in different rooms because we are following all of the social distancing guidelines. Don't worry. Annise is currently in our beautiful library. As you can see, all of the books behind her, and I am in one of the meeting rooms with a bit of art behind me as well. So we have that going for us. It is just a bit after 1, so we can get started. We do have a decent amount of participants already on, so thank you for being on time. So welcome. This is our 4th installation of the virtual programming series that the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame is hosting. Today, I am joined by Annise Montplaisir. I have had the pleasure of working with Annise over the past 3 weeks. She has been a phenomenal, shall we say, consultant to the museum, really helping me out with a lot of thoroughbred racing knowledge when it comes to the education department. So she is finishing up her time here, but it is my goal to keep her around virtually as long as possible. So unfortunately for her, she will not be escaping us anytime soon. And also is fluent in Spanish. So for those of you looking for to use her for certain things, we have definitely been working with her to translate our 3rd grade STEM packet, as well as brainstorming and working on ideas for a 5th grade STEM packet as well. So there we have a little bit about Annise. Annise, would you like to tell us a little bit more about who you are, where your background comes from, and what exactly this wonderful platform, Amplify Horse Racing, is all about?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for letting me join you on the programming. I hope that my connection is okay. It looks like it's a little bit unstable, but I'm just gonna power through. And if for some reason I cut out, give me a little wave. So my name is Annise Montplaisir, and I'm originally from the area near Fargo, North Dakota. And I fell in love with the thoroughbred industry when I was around 12 or 13 years old. I actually saw a movie about a famous racehorse who's in the Hall of Fame named Ruffian. And I fell in love with the passion for the sport, the interactions between the humans and the animals. And I decided that I wanted to pursue a career in this industry. And so I was fortunate to live nearby a very small racetrack that a lot of people would not have heard of, called the North Dakota Horse Park. They only run a very limited number of days each year, but getting started at a really small track like that allowed me to get my hands on all sorts of different sectors of the track, from being a pony rider to the communication side. That was where I was first introduced to journalism, to coordinating with local media, learning from horsemen, and it provided a really great starting point for me to go on to other internships in the thoroughbred industry. So I decided to stay local for university. I actually studied management communication and international studies, and I minored in Spanish while still knowing I wanted to pursue a career in thoroughbred industry. And then every summer I would travel for industry internships. And in 2015, I ended up here in Saratoga Springs as a staff writer for the Saratoga Special, which is really cool because it's actually a print publication. Well, in a normal year, it'd be a print publication strictly about racing here in Saratoga. This year it is digital. And so it's just been this incredible journey. And along the way, I learned about the Godolphin Flying Start program, which we're going to discuss a little bit more later, but that's a 2-year international thoroughbred industry management course in which trainees travel to 5 different countries and they learn about thoroughbred racing and breeding in each of those countries. And so I recently graduated from that program in July, which was the experience of a lifetime. I would love to answer any questions that anybody has about that at any time. and I'm the co-founder of Amplify Horse Racing, which I'm going to tell you guys more about. And I also do some journalism work for America's Best Racing, and I co-host a Spanish show called La Trifecta each Friday.
No, I mean, that's phenomenal. Clearly that Godolphin Flying Star program is no joke. I know we got to discuss it a lot in the past 3 weeks, and it seems like you had a phenomenal experience, both education-wise and pure entertainment-wise. I mean, the stories that you have from the various places around the world are absolutely phenomenal and just completely inspiring. I mean, before I even started at the museum, I wasn't aware that there are so many phenomenal programs already in place around the world, both internationally and here in the US, that exist for people who do have a strong interest and love for this industry that they can take and join and become a part of through those programs. And I know partly that's something that Amplify strives to do. How do you think Amplify is going to fit into the overall industry, and what do you want Amplify to become?
Amplify is a not-for-profit initiative. It's a pending official tax-exempt organization. I should say tax-exempt pending, but it was started in 2019 by myself and co-founder Madison Scott, who is also a graduate of the Godolphin Flying Start program, and she's originally from Texas, and she now works more on the bloodstock side of the industry. And so we became friends and both found that there were a lot of similarities in our path and also that of our friends for getting into the thoroughbred industry, and that you kind of learn about it, but then when it comes to trying to find a streamlined way in, okay, so I've learned about it, now what is my next step? It ends up being this very roundabout journey of sort of stumbling across opportunities or meeting the right people at the right time, which is great, but we wanted to make that pathway a lot easier for people. And so Amplify was born out of that. And we want for this to be a collaborative platform for education and careers in the US thoroughbred industry, because as Madison and I both found on our own journeys, there are all of these incredible educational programs, internships, a wide array of careers and opportunities, but they can be so spread out. It can be difficult as a newcomer entering the sport to find out, well, where do I go and how do I access all of this information? So we've done our best to concentrate as much as we can on our website and also work with individual initiatives, programs, organizations to promote the education and technical training and what they offer. So we're literally trying to amplify horse racing and bring newcomers into the sport.
I mean, that's such a phenomenal initiative. And if anyone on here has not been on their website yet, it is amplifyhorseracing.org, correct?
Yeah.
And on there, Annise and her co-founder have already done such a phenomenal job of really collecting so much information on career opportunities, internships, technical programs, college programs. So if you or anyone that you know is interested, even just on the periphery of the thoroughbred industry, please head over to Amplify. They have done a phenomenal job of really outlining just the various opportunities and the different ways in which you can learn more, even just about the industry if you're interested, just as an observer. And with that, I know that COVID-19 has had an impact, on us here at the museum and different in-person programs around the world, definitely the US as well. So I'm sure a lot of the in-person programs for the industry aren't really active right now, but is there anything that people can do from home at the moment if they do want to learn more about the industry as a whole, or really how to get involved in racing?
Absolutely. So that's one of the number one questions that we get from newcomers is, where do I start? And sometimes it can be hard to determine, okay, this is step one, this is where you go. But if there's been one awesome thing that has come out of the pandemic, we're all now super tuned in to virtual programming, which just opens so many doors and increases the accessibility of this industry, regardless of your location, regardless of your knowledge level. There are opportunities to be accessed out there virtually. So last year, Amplify was doing a lot more in-person engagement. Everybody this year for 2020 have these grand plans of, great events, and we had all of these awesome things planned to engage with people in person. And as the rest of the world did, we had to pivot. And so we've started offering through Amplify what we call monthly horse racing hangouts. So to teach people about the different career sectors in the thoroughbred industry and teach them about some of the professional journeys of existing industry employees, we do one per month, and each month has a different theme depending on a different industry sector. So one of our first ones was industry pathways. Last month was hands-on work with horses, and we had Hall of Fame jockey Julie Crone, Rosie Napravnik. Julie Crone is now the agent to a young jockey and veterinarian named Farron Peterson. This month is going to be marketing and communications in the thoroughbred industry. So it's just a chance for newcomers to be welcomed in, learn about, we'll talk more about careers later in this session, but horse racing is not just about being a trainer, a vet, or a jockey. There are all of these different avenues. So these horse racing hangouts, our next one is actually on Tuesday, August 18th. You can register on our website. So that's just one example. The museum's virtual programming has just been awesome. And so you guys have your regular virtual programming schedule. In the summers, you do a Horse Explorers program for kids, which you now do basically the same thing online for people to access. So Lindsay, just talk a little bit about your guys' virtual programming.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, just like you were saying, we had a lot of big plans for 2020 as well at the museum. Those are all still going forward. Of course, the big one is our Hall of Fame education experience. We were slated to open in July. Now we are looking at September. So horse racing fans, don't worry, we will open, of course. But as far as in-person programming and tours, just like Annise was saying, I was very excited for all of the new opportunities and tours and programmings we were going to have in-house, and we did switch that to virtual. Brian Bouye, who's our Hall of Fame and communications director, was lovely enough to come on here a couple times and do some racing previews. I had another one with Victoria Reisman, who is our curator, and we talked about the new gallery installations as well as the Hall of Fame education experience, and those have been phenomenal. We've received great comments from everyone who has been able to join us on those. If you were interested in any of those and weren't able to join live, we do have them recorded, and they have been posted to our Facebook page if anyone is interested. We do have a couple more live events coming up. We have a couple farm tours scheduled. Unfortunately, those are not able to happen in person this year. I'm also very sad about it. Those are a fan favorite. We usually sell out of those very quickly, but luckily for us, we do have this live Zoom capability. So next Thursday, actually August 20th at 3 p.m., we have our first virtual farm tour at Old Tavern Farm. So any locals, I'm sure, are familiar with Old Tavern Farm. They are a great partner with the museum. They are phenomenal in helping us with any educational opportunities. So they were, of course, one of the first farms interested in doing a virtual tour. And then we also have one scheduled the following Friday, August 28th at 1 p.m. And that is with old friends at Cabin Creek, which is a thoroughbred retirement farm as well. So many thoroughbred racing fan favorites actually live there. For example, Zippy Chippy, who I love purely because of his name, but he will definitely be featured on that live virtual tour as well. We're just very lucky to have the capability at the museum to have the virtual programming, like Annise said, both live and with pre-recorded programs such as the virtual horse explorers, which are led by our program assistant here. She's been doing a great job with those. Those are pre-recorded and put up every Thursday on the museum's Facebook. So if you have any little ones at home or know anyone with little ones at home that are interested in anything equine related, those are usually just a short lesson and then some sort of activity or craft that you can usually do at home with materials around you. So we tried to make it as coronavirus friendly as possible. So if you would like to join on any of those, please let any of us know. But thank you, Annise, for that virtual program shout out.
Yeah,
of course. Are there any other virtual education opportunities right now?
Oh yeah, you reminded me with the farm tours. Visit Horse Country is a organization in Lexington, Kentucky that basically does these amazing educational tours of farms in the central Kentucky area. And so again, live tours are not possible during coronavirus. So they've been offering a lot of their tours virtually. They're still doing some virtual tours, which are an incredible educational experience, a good look into behind the scenes at these farms. And they're now, they had been slowly starting to get back to some live tours. So hopefully we'll get back to real life soon. A couple others really quickly. The Grace and Jockey Club Foundation had to have their welfare and safety of the racehorse summit virtually this year. They have done some really fascinating veterinary lectures, essentially talks from various veterinarians and safety aspects of the thoroughbred industry. Those might really intrigue someone who's fascinated by the veterinary side. This is not necessarily a virtual programming, but Keeneland has done these really awesome life's work oral histories that you can access online. So different oral histories from some people who've been really instrumental in growing the thoroughbred industry through history. Another example, keep an eye out for things. Even the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation did some fascinating virtual things to teach people about their organizations. So just my advice for newcomers is to keep your ears peeled, go back and watch previous episodes of things. These are a great way of starting to get an overview and paint a picture of this industry and start to learn about the people involved, the horses, and there's so much to absorb, and the more that you can do in that regard, the better it's going to be for you as you continue your journey.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, those types of virtual educational programs and opportunities are a phenomenal first step to anyone who, again, is sort of on the periphery or just really wants to learn more. If they then decide that they do want to explore a career specifically in the thoroughbred racing industry, I assume that there must be, college programs, technical programs, any sort of structured academics out there for someone who really wants to commit to this industry and learning more. Perhaps any high school seniors out there that are interested in pursuing this as a full-time career.
Totally, absolutely. And I'm going to preface this by saying as I said before, there's no cut and dry pathway into this industry. As I shared with my own educational background, I actually didn't study anything equine, but what I studied was still applicable to the sector of the thoroughbred industry that I wanted to go into. But there are thoroughbred industry focused educational programs. The North American Racing Academy with the Bluegrass Community and Technical College has a lot of hands-on technical training related to the thoroughbred industry. The University of Arizona has a very well-known racetrack industry program. University of Louisville would have a racetrack industry program. A lot of my friends have gone through the University of Kentucky equine program, so a lot of people who are interested in having a career in the thoroughbred industry will seek out their equine program. I know that SUNY Morrisville here in New York has a thoroughbred industry specific program. So there really is a lot out there if you want to pursue training that is specific to the thoroughbred industry. So those are a few of your options. We have all of those on the Amplify website if you didn't catch some of those, but definitely explore what there is and see what suits your needs. If you want to get a 4-year degree or more of a technical training type degree, there's, all of that is out there. And so you can find what fits best for you.
Oh, I mean, that's phenomenal. I think that's really, really great to know. Clearly there aren't, an overwhelming number, but it's a very specific career choice for a lot of people. Obviously not the only way to get into the industry, as you went and I went, of course, here as well. I know, at least when I was in college and I was looking into, museum studies and how do I get my foot in the door at a museum and the sort of educational side, which is what I always really wanted to do. I was really encouraged to seek out internships, whether that be through historical societies or local museums. Is that something that is available in the thoroughbred industry? If so, how do they work? How do we find out more information on them?
Totally. Yes. I'm glad you asked that, because internships were an instrumental part of my journey into the thoroughbred industry. I counted it up. I think I did probably 10 different internships throughout my college career, and you just cannot undervalue the experience that you get of doing an internship. You're not married to, working there for a long period of time. You can come in, do a 3-month internship, a 6-month internship, if you want to do a 1-year internship. And so what are some different ways of finding those? So depending on the season, for example, if you wanted to do something more hands-on with the breeding side of the industry, maybe foaling mares, those internships would probably start being posted in late fall into the winter, because they're going to want to have people by January. And some farms will post their own internships specifically. You'll see a lot of yearling sales prep internships in the early spring as people are getting into summer. And again, so you'll find them posted individually by farms, organizations, racetracks. They could be on LinkedIn. We have a whole list of internships on the Amplify website. And another thing that I did with a lot of my internships is, if there was an organization that I was interested in learning more about and I felt that I could also contribute to, I reached out to them over email and asked, would you consider tailoring an internship? I would like to learn this. I have these skills. This is what I'm studying. And a lot of people are so receptive to that, because they want to see young people come into the thoroughbred industry, and they're really willing to work with you on your needs. And then the Kentucky Equine Management Internship is a very well-known program that is, again, based in central Kentucky. It's probably one of the most well-known, best structured internships, and is primarily surrounding breeding and sales in the thoroughbred industry. But it's a structured program where you have an academic component, hands-on component. You get to experience some other aspects of the industry. So those are a few different options. And again, those are all outlined on the Amplify website on our education page if you'd like to learn more about internships. And also, if you have any questions about seeking out internships, please feel free to ask.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the most valuable things about an internship is, frankly, figuring out what you don't want to do. I thought I wanted to be an archaeologist for a very long time, and I did an archaeological internship after my freshman year of college and realized 7 hours on my knees digging in the dirt was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So it's very valuable, even if you know that you definitely want a career in the thoroughbred industry. There's a lot of avenues. Annise has already mentioned there are a lot of different careers that encompass this entire industry. It isn't just jockey, trainer, owner. It's way more expansive than that. So if you don't know exactly what you want, but you have that love of horses, you have that love of racing, definitely look into internships. Like Annise mentioned, reach out to different organizations and see if they would actually create an internship for you. We love interns at the museum. Reach out to us. We would love to have you for free labor as well, to be quite honest. We are also a nonprofit. So internships are definitely something to look into if you are interested in exploring more. So we've talked about specific college academia. We've talked about internships. If maybe we've done some college, we've done some internships, we know what we want to do. I know that there's a lot of different aspects to thoroughbred racing. Are there any sort of technical programs? So anything specific to breeding, like you mentioned, or maybe farrier work or things like that, where there are these technical programs that exist that teach you, not necessarily from books, but with a sort of advisor going through step by step how certain things are done.
Totally. So I'll start with two very specific technical training programs here in the US. There's a groom training program called the Groom Elite program, and that is technical training pertaining to, it starts with very basics about the anatomy of the horse and teaches people how to become a really well qualified groom, because you can never underestimate the importance of horsemanship, regardless of what sector of the thoroughbred industry you want to go into. And horsemanship is essentially having, a deep understanding of the animal itself, a respect for the animal, and understanding proper handling of the animal. So they do a very good job of that. The Kentucky Horseshoeing School is literally a horseshoeing school in Kentucky that teaches you about proper farrier work, the anatomy of the horse's legs, their conformation, how you would shoe or trim a horse based on the conformation or the structure of their body. And so we actually spent some time at the Kentucky Horseshoeing School while I was on the Godolphin Flying Start program, which segues really well into that. As I mentioned, that's a 2-year international training and management course in the thoroughbred industry. They accept 12 trainees annually from a variety of different countries. On my course, we had representation from the United States, Ireland, the UK, France, and Australia. The course below me has somebody from Argentina, someone from Japan. And so it's just this incredible, diverse group of students. And as you go and spend time in each country's breeding and racing industry, it's incredible to, the thoroughbred industry and thoroughbred racing is one of the oldest sports in the world. And then you start to be able to compare and contrast how each country does things slightly differently. So for example, in the US and a lot of countries, most mares would foal in stalls. So they would have their baby in a stall deeply bedded down with straw. They would be highly monitored. Whereas in Australia, for example, they would foal all of their mares outside. So babies are born and it's like, welcome to the world, you are outside. And they have these really tough, sturdy racehorses that race on for a long time. They have a lot of geldings that will go on and be racing for years and years. And so it's just an incredibly immersive program that covers everything from management to breeding, racing, training, human resources, communications, marketing, and it was absolutely incredible. Then you have programs like the Irish National Stud Program, the English National Stud Program. So Irish National Stud student course, they're actually accepting applications right now. That would be a 6-month breeding course that's in Ireland. They're based in Kildare. They go through some of the technical, more book-type curriculum things, and then they're also working out on the yards, foaling out mares. And from all of my friends who've done that, they had an incredible experience. The English National Stud is similar in their curriculum. I've had friends who've worked with the British Horse Racing Authority, has an internship type program called the BHA grad scheme, where you're working more on the regulatory side of racing. And so there are all of these amazing, immersive, technical type programs that even carry you internationally throughout the sport. You're not limited to one state, one country. The opportunities for travel are endless.
That's really phenomenal. And the fact that you were able to even participate in that Godolphin Flying Star program is really amazing. I'm not sure if you heard her correctly. They only take 12 people a year. So Annise was chosen. That's really an accomplishment in and of itself. And then, of course, you have to finish the entire 2-year program, and you get to travel to all these amazing places. And here you are. You came back and you started your own organization. You know, you were able to see that there was this gap almost that existed. You know, a gap where you could fill it with Amplify horse racing and really try and to promote the thoroughbred industry and promote it to people who may not be involved right now, people who are on the outside and may not even know that there's a career available to them in the industry, who perhaps love horses or perhaps love racing and have no idea that they could actually be a part of it. And I know we've sort of talked about this a little bit, but as far as careers are concerned, you know, once you've done an internship, once you've, you know, finished a technical program or gotten that degree from one of these colleges we've discussed, I assume that you have some idea of what exact career you'd like to pursue in the industry. But for those of us who are on the Zoom today, you know, maybe they haven't done any of those and are still curious about this broad spectrum of careers that are available to them in the thoroughbred racing industry. Could you mention some of those? I'm sure we'd be here for 2 hours if you were to mention all of them, but perhaps, you know, the most prominent or even the most not thought about, or sometimes, you know, people don't even realize that that is actually a career available to them in the industry.
Totally. That's, you know, a lot of people, when they're first introduced to the industry, have this perception that the careers that you can have are to be a veterinarian, a jockey, or a racehorse trainer. And I have to admit, that's what I thought too when I was first introduced to the sport at 12. Initially, I wanted to be a vet, and then I wanted to be a jockey. And then I got really tall and realized I love dessert and eat it all the time. So then I discovered this passion for the media aspect of the thoroughbred industry and how applicable it is to use Spanish. So I'm going to break it down into different categories. You have careers that are going to be hands-on focused with horses. And even in this, you have so many different options. So you can work on the racetrack side, there's the breeding side of the industry, and then there's also kind of more the training side. And also, even further, is aftercare, so working with the retraining of racehorses. So on the racetrack side, you could have anything from, you know, you'd start as a groom, so caring for the horses, hot walking the horses, which is cooling them out after they finish training. You could become a barn foreman where you're managing everything that's happening, the training schedules, what horses are going out to the track at what time. Work your way up to an assistant trainer where you're really working, you're kind of the right-hand man, woman to the trainer. And then the trainer is going to be you know, monitoring each horse, determining what distance they should run at, when they need to race, what their training program is going to be. Now, the breeding side could be caring for mares and foals. Again, you have barn foreman type positions. You could have a farm manager who's managing this entire operation. And you'd have broodmare managers, which are just looking over, you know, those mommy horses and their foals. You could have yearling managers. So once a foal is weaned and it's no longer with its mother, they'll be moved to a different division of the farm. And then once they grow into yearlings and they're getting ready for a sale, you'll have a person who's overlooking that side. And then again, training side. So when yearlings, when they're getting later on into their yearling year and they're trained for under saddle, you have people who are in charge of that and getting them ready as 2-year-olds. And then some of the other categories would be thoroughbred sales. You could be an auctioneer. You could be a consigner who basically represents different groups of horses at the sales. There are so many different options. If you're into accounting, well, every business needs an accountant, and I sure as heck am not going to be an accountant because math is not my thing. And, you know, there's the veterinary side if you're interested in that. Marketing, media, public outreach, working at a museum, research. And another thing I really have to say, so many, young people today are really tuned into social media. And that's becoming increasingly important in the industry. A lot of racehorse trainers or a lot of farms are hiring people to be in charge of their public outreach or communicating with owners and monitoring that social media or taking videos of horses. So if you're really good at even social media, you have an opportunity to actually make a job out of that in the thoroughbred industry. So don't ever limit yourself. If you have a passion for something, there can be a career in this industry that follows that. So I hope that answered some of that. As you guys can see, there's this whole realm of possibilities out there to be pursued.
No, absolutely. And I feel like there are opportunities for everyone who is interested in a different side. For example, I have more of a history background. So one of the things I really love at the museum is really being able to delve into the history of thoroughbred racing and learning a lot about that for our museum tours and programs here. So I really love that aspect. I do agree with you about the math. I definitely don't do any accounting or running of the books here at the museum because it would definitely be a mess. So we're very happy I don't do that. But if you are interested in accounting and you are a whiz with numbers and love the thoroughbred racing, well, you're probably already figuring out the betting. But if you want a job in here as well, I'm sure you could find one. Well, a big thank you to Annise for coming in today and joining us here. We do have one question for you. It's about Ruffian. So he is your favorite, so no pressure. What movie about Ruffian inspired you? And do you have any books on Ruffian that you would recommend to someone who I think is clearly a fellow fan?
Cool. So cool. The movie that I saw, ESPN actually created a movie about Ruffian several years ago. Off the top of my head, I think it might have come out in 2004. I could be wrong, but if you search ESPN movie about Ruffian, you would find it. I do have to say it's not for kiddos. I wouldn't let your young kids watch it, but I can recommend lots of great racing movies that kids would really like. And then my favorite Ruffian book, there are a lot of good ones, but there's one called Ruffian Burning from the Start by Jane Schwartz. It is just a beautiful depiction of her career, the people who are with her. There's a lot of great imagery. Ruffian, A Racetrack Romance by Bill Mack is also very good. He's an excellent writer. So those are a couple of recommendations that I would have.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing.
I'm sure we could let her go on for another hour about Ruffian. So thank you for that. And thank you to Teresa for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa.
Well, and again, thank you, Annise, for coming in and joining me today. One of the future goals of the museum is to really continue to work with Amplify. I mean, I have had the absolute pleasure of working with Annise these past 3 weeks. And like I stated multiple times, we're not letting her go anytime soon. She is going to stick around virtually. So thank you again. We really hope to start putting together some programs for high school students and other almost adults who are interested in the industry and really start building up and expanding access into the thoroughbred racing industry as a whole. And I really think that that is something that Amplify and the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame can achieve together. So please look for that in the next couple of years.
So awesome. And I have to add too, Amplify's goal is to amplify educational programs like this. And it has been such a privilege to be here for the last 3 weeks and working on, the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame's incredible educational programs. They have this amazing 3rd grade STEM program that teaches kids about, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, while they're still learning about horses, the thoroughbred industry. They've got the incredible Full Patrol program, Full Patrol program, words are hard. And we did some awesome brainstorming on that. Translating the 3rd grade STEM curriculum into Spanish was such a cool experience. Just the museum, when it reopens, I'm so excited for people to be able to see all that you guys have going on here. And we'll be excited to get back to more tours next summer and even more educational programming. So 2021, here
absolutely.
we come.
We've been closed since January, and my favorite part of my job is having, you know, a whole tour bus get off right in front of the museum and unload. And, you know, you've got 50 people in front of you who all they want to do is learn about thoroughbred racing, you know, the history, you know, modern times, what's going on today, experiencing the Hall of Fame. So obviously tour buses can't come in right now, but when we do reopen, you know, we will be able to have small groups of people at a time. So we really look forward to opening again and welcoming people back. We are definitely going to continue with virtual programs, maybe different formats, but we do understand that sometimes travel is restricted, or where people may just not feel comfortable yet going into such a public setting. So we are going to continue with, as I mentioned, the virtual farm tours that we do have coming up next week and the following week, and hopefully we'll have some more in September. And then once we do reopen, we will be starting some virtual tours. So if you are interested in a tour of the museum and are not able to be here physically in person, we are definitely going to be putting together some virtual tours so that you'll still be able to experience it no matter where you are in the country, or, you know, even internationally at this point. So if you
seriously tune in for that, people, because it is, you're in for a treat.
Yes, we do have the registration links up right now for the 2 farm tours. Again, those are August 20th at 3 p.m. at Old Tavern Farm and August 28th at 1 p.m. at Old Friends at Cabin Creek. So please do head over to our Facebook page. That's where the link to the registration is. We are taking questions for both of those farm tours. So if you have any questions for Old Friends or Old Tavern, please do submit those when you register. And I don't see any more questions down here. So I guess that's a final thank you to Annise for joining me on here today. And if anyone is interested in learning more about the thoroughbred industry and the careers available, please head over to amplifyhorseracing.org, or you can go ahead and reach out to either Annise or myself, and we can definitely get you into contact with someone who will be able to make your dreams come true. So
totally.
thank you very much,
and follow
everyone.
us on social media. We always try to consistently post about different career and educational opportunities that are coming up. Message us on social media, send us an email, and we will reach out to you, get back to you, and send you in the right direction to attaining a career or a job in the horse racing industry. So thank you so much, Lindsay.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone. Nice to see you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.